So, Chris Eubank Jr., less than 2 weeks away now from the biggest fight of your career so far. Cliched opening question, how has camp gone?
Perfectly. Best shape of my life. On weight. I was on weight 5 or 6 weeks ago, to be honest. Obviously, I'm stepping up to super middleweight, so um, it's different for me now. I get to eat as much as I want, whenever I want. I'll have a breakfast the day of the weigh-in, which is brand new to me. Throughout over the years, I've always had to kind of starve myself and dehydrate before fights to make middleweight. So now this is it's a new and improved me. I think I feel energized. I feel strong, fast. I can't wait.
Let's talk a bit more about that. A lot of people have talked about size being a factor in this fight. Predominantly that Groves is a naturally bigger guy, has been at super middleweight for longer. But as you've just alluded to, the flip side to that is that you get to eat pretty much what you want. He will have to struggle to an extent to make the weight in the first place before he even gets into a fight. How do you balance those two things, his size advantage, in inverted commas, against the fact that you don't have to cut weight?
I don't see it as an advantage. Size is not. It's not an issue. If you have the skill, the speed, the power, and the determination to win. Yes, he will be maybe a stone heavier than me on the night. He's a naturally bigger man than me, but by no means does that mean that he's a better fighter than me. By no means does that mean he wants to win more than me. And those are the factors that will ensure that I'm victorious.
Let's talk a little bit about camp. You've often come across in the past as something of a loner character, certainly someone who controls their own destiny, which is obviously a good thing. How do you get on with the other fighters in the camp and the whole kind of camaraderie and the atmosphere of the camp? Is that something you get involved in?
Camaraderie is not really, it doesn't play a huge part in my training camps. I'm not going to lie. Outside of the gym, we have fun. I'm a fun guy, but in the gym, it's all business. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not in boxing to be the nice guy, to be the one everybody loves and adores. And I'm here to win. I'm here to be a world champion. I'm here to inspire the next generation of fighters coming up, and that takes hard work, dedication, and serious preparation. The camaraderie, the fun, the games, that's for after the fight.
That kind of inspirational side, do you feel that in the gym at all, in terms of the other fighters that train here, both professional and amateur, who aren't quite at the level you are just yet? Do you feel that you being here and training here is inspiring them to an extent?
I would hope that my training inspires the fighters and the amateurs that train in the same gym as me and around me. I know that growing up, training at top rank and at Floyd Mayweather's gym, looking at all the world champions as a young teenager, I would be inspired by the things I saw, and I would try and emulate and copy certain things that I would see in the gym daily. So I hope that I've now become that guy for the up-and-coming fighters in the gyms. That's what it's all about. It's all about leading by example. It's all about being the standard bearer. As a world champion, you want to inspire young kids, anybody who's thinking about getting into the game, the sport of boxing, whether it's to fight professionally or amateur or just to get fit. It's always been a goal of mine to be the guy that people would say, yeah, watch him, do what he does.
Now, next week's event is obviously a huge magnitude. Groves has a belt you want, and he's also in the way of you getting to the final of the Ali Trophy, the WBSS. How do you feel about the event itself? Does that mean something to you, or is it more just a means to an end?
The event is an awesome. It's an awesome thing. This tournament where the best fight the best. You can't run, you can't hide, you can't duck, you can't dodge. Everyone's signed on the dotted line, and you have to fight. I think that's great for boxing. I think that's what boxing needs. It needs a definitive stage where the best fighters can compete and there is one victor. who people can say, yeah, he's the best super middleweight in the world, regardless of belts and titles and opinions. This tournament is something that can scrub all of that out. You are the best. You've won the tournament. And you know, the World Boxing Super Series it is a huge event, and it's no holds barred. They've gone all out. You know, production, the purses, you know, the promotion, everything is top notch. So I'm very privileged and happy to be a part of it.
You stand here now on the verge of being one half of arguably the biggest non-Sky pay-per-view we've had in this country. One thing, how does that make you feel? And also, what has guided you and Groves, so the fight as a whole, to this point? Why is it such an attraction? Why has it captured the imagination?
I think that I think it's great that there's, you know, a new platform for fighters to perform on. You know, being outside of Sky, you know, the competition's healthy, and I think this is the new and improved platform. This is where a lot of great fights and a lot of great fighters will start, you know, fighting and aspiring to perform on. You know, and I'm kind of the flagship fighter. I feel George Groves has been named the #1 seed, but I don't agree with that.
Do you feel he's the B side in this fight?
I do. I feel I'm the A side. I feel that, you know, this fight is the magnitude it is because of what I'm bringing to the table. George Groves is he's a world champion, but is he exciting in the ring? Does he capture the imagination of the public? I don't believe so. He doesn't capture my imagination. So yeah, regardless of rankings and seeds and belts, I believe that you know, I'm the superior fighter, and I'm going to go and prove that on February 17th.
How do you feel now about people in the past, when you first signed up to this tournament, saying that you were going to pull out, that you were going to withdraw once you came across a real test? You obviously always knew that that wasn't going to be the case, but now it's proved that you're taking on this fight. Do you feel a sense of kind of, you know, vindication against all those critics?
I don't listen to the critics. I don't listen to the armchair critics, the keyboard warriors, the haters, the doubters. None of that's important to me. All I have to focus on is being the fighter I know I can be, staying in the gym, dedicating my life to the sport of boxing, and performing on these big nights, these big events. And this is the biggest night of my life. It will be on February 17th. This is the biggest fight I've had to date against the toughest opponent. And I've prepared accordingly.
You said in a recent interview that someone's going to get knocked out and your chin doesn't turn off, whereas his does. Is he, with that in mind, the biggest puncher that you'll ever face so far, that you have faced so far, do you think?
I wouldn't disagree with that statement. He probably is the heaviest hitter that I've faced so far in my career. And I think that's why people are so excited about this, because, you know, some people like to say my chin's never been tested. You know, I've been fighting now for about 6 years. I've had 27 pro fights. So for people to say that my chin has never been tested, as if that's a bad thing, as if I'm unproven, that's a compliment to me. That I've been in the ring with 27 men over 6 years, and not one of them has ever hit me hard enough for people to believe that my chin has been tested. That means I'm doing my job. Boxing to me is about hitting and not getting hit. It's about having an effective defense. That's the way that your career has and keeps its longevity. That's the way you don't end up punch drunk and injured. Protect yourselves at all times. Don't get hit. So if that is the case, my chin's never been tested, then great. That's a compliment to me.
You said you don't listen to the haters and the keyboard warriors. I'm guessing the people that you do listen to, or whose opinions matter to you, must be quite a small number. Who are those people? Whose opinions count for you?
Whose opinion? I mean, you know, obviously I hear what my fans appreciate, and you know, I just continue to be me. Whether you like me or hate me, what I'm doing in the ring, you can't deny. You can't deny the dedication and and the skills. These performances I'm putting on in the ring are can only be achieved through years of hard work and graft and pain. So whether you like me or hate me, everybody, you have to respect me. And that is the main thing. Opinions don't really matter to me. As long as I have the respect that I deserve for the things that I've done and what I'm doing, that's what's important to me.
Now, in the past, people have talked about your father and how he's managed your career. They haven't been convinced he's necessarily the right person to guide you. Being in the position you are now on the verge of this massive fight, do you think that's proved those people wrong?
I believe so. A lot of people said and still say to this day that my father shouldn't be so heavily involved in what I do in terms of managing me, promoting me, being in my corner on fight night. But who else is going to do it? Who else is more trustworthy than your own father? Every other man on the planet, or everybody else that could potentially be in his position, they have their own families, they have their own friends, they have their own desires. I will never be number one, no matter how much time we spend together and how much we love each other and how much we're pals and how much we trust each other. Their sons and their wives and their girlfriends will always come first. Whereas with my father, I'm always going to be first because I'm his son. So that's why I'm so confident in having him around me, because I know there isn't going to be any, there's not going to be any backstabbing. There's not going to be any things going on behind closed doors that I don't know about that aren't in my best interests. He will always have my best interests at heart, which can't be said for a lot of people in the game at the moment. I mean, it's a thing throughout history where promoters, managers, teammates have done things which are detrimental to their fighter's career. I don't believe that'll ever happen with me and my father, so I'm in a great position.
Did you have a chance to see the video interview that Groves did yesterday, or if not, have you heard some of the comments that were made?
I think I saw some of it. I saw some of the footage.
So he had some quite scathing words for your father regarding talking about your opponents and sometimes spar mates, the need for them to be rescued from your ruthlessness, I think was the term used. How did you feel about Groves' comments? Do you feel they were unfair?
Groves can say whatever he wants to say. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop me from doing what I'm going to do on the night. His opinions, his worries, his feelings about me and my father, it's all irrelevant. All that matters is that when that bell goes, eventually I'm going to catch him with a punch that's going to send him to the floor, and I will raise my hands in victory. That's all that matters.
Do you feel, being objective, looking at yourself from the outside, that opponents, spar mates, need a level of protection from you? Is there a level of ruthlessness that could become an issue, I guess?
Being ruthless is... sometimes being ruthless is a part of boxing. I'm not a spiteful person. I'm competitive. I'm doing my job. When you're in the ring and you're sparring and you're training and you're fighting somebody, you have to win. You have to be dominant. If people want to say that's ruthless, then so be it. Then I guess I'm ruthless. But this is the hurt game. This is the hurt business. You have to be able to take and give. When I spar hard, because that's what these fights are. They're hard, especially when you're fighting in front of a crowd of 20,000, millions of people watching on TV. It's not easy to do that. So you have to replicate that hardship in the gym.
Groves has been quite vocal about the issues he had after the Edward Gutneck fight, coming to terms with the fact that he had helped cause a serious injury to an opponent. You've had similar experience after the Nick Blackwell fight. Is that something that ever plays on your mind? I suppose you can't let it, can you?
You know, what happened with Nick, you know, very unfortunate. But this is boxing. You know, we all understand that these things can happen. And that's why you have to prepare yourself and train yourself so diligently so that you can decrease the chances of those things happening to you. You can't live. You can't live in the past. You can't worry about things like that. You can't worry about getting hurt or what has happened to past opponents. Because if you let that play in your mind, that actually becomes a danger to you when you enter the ring. You have to be fully focused. You have to know and truly believe that you're going to win. Not worry about, you know, what may or may not happen to yourself or your opponent. You know, the objective is to score points or to stop your man. By any means necessary within the rules of boxing. That's the only thing that I think about.
Do you think Groves is the first opponent, certainly in your professional career, who's tried to engage in psychological warfare and tried to get under your skin with mind games?
No.
You've experienced that before?
Of course. I've experienced way worse than what George Groves has. You know, George Groves has been polite compared to some of the stuff I've had to deal with in my professional career from some of the fighters I've faced in the past. You know, we've had our back and forths. We've had the exchanges. We've said what we're going to do, but it's been, you know, we haven't crossed the line. You know, there is still that level of respect there. I don't dislike George. You know, I don't hate him. He's just a guy that has a belt that I need to build my legacy. He's just the guy standing in front of me, progressing to the final of this tournament. It's nothing personal. It's just punishment.
And something one of our subscribers on Twitter asked earlier, who do you rate as the best middleweight and super middleweight in the world apart from yourself?
I mean, how can I answer that question? That doesn't make sense. I'm the best.
So who's the second best then?
I don't worry about second best. Who cares about second best? We're worrying about who the best fighter is in this tournament. That's all everyone wants to know. Who's the best super middleweight? And I'm going to prove it's me.
Okay. How about this one? Give me 3 qualities about George Groves. 3 things you think he's good at.
You know, you can't say George Groves isn't good. He's a world champion. I'm sure there's probably many things he's good at. In your eyes, you know, you guys, people who don't fight, George Groves is amazing because he can do things that most people can't dream of doing. Me as an elite level fighter, I don't see anything that George does that that impresses me, that worries me, that has me thinking, okay, I need to watch out for that. Yes, he can hit hard. I've fought people that can hit hard before it. He has experience. That is probably the one thing that he has over me coming into this fight is more of an experience in these high-level fights. But I'm hungry. I'm ready. This is my time.
And you're arguably fresher. Well, inarguably, actually.
We're only a year apart, but yes, I believe I am the fresher fighter. I believe that he has had fights which have taken some of the sauce out of him. I haven't been in those fights. I haven't had a fighter knock me out. I haven't been definitively beaten by any fighter. So yes, I believe I am the fresher man coming into this match.
We've just come off 2 great WBSS semi-finals, action-packed fights in the cruiserweight division. Do you feel any sort of, not so much pressure, but would you like to live up to that standard of entertainment in the Groves fight? And is it a possibility that one of you, in your case you, I'm sure you would say, will be so dominant that that won't be the case?
You know, I I can't really focus on other fights. What me and George are going to bring to the table is going to be epic. That's all I know.
Who's going to win the other semi-final? I know you said you can't focus on other fights, but that will be your final opponent should you go through. Have you got a pick there between Bramer and Smith?
I don't have. I haven't really seen much of Bramer, and I've only watched about 2 fights from Callum. His last fight and a fight he had a couple of years back. So I'm not really in the best position to comment on that. But in terms of who I'd want to win, Callum. You know, being a Brit, being proud of my country and representing Britain, I would like to have an all-British showdown for the tournament. I've heard that it's going to be at the O2 now in May. That they've announced that May, June. So you know, if Callum can do his job and get through the fight, then that's going to be another epic fight to be had in Britain, which is great for British boxing.
And should all go to plan, Groves is vanquished, Callum Smith next. What's the future beyond the WBSS for Chris Eubank Jr?
I mean, that's the great thing about boxing, especially British boxing at this moment in time. There's so many great fighters, up and coming fighters, world champions, you know, and worldwide even. It's the new golden era of boxing. There's so many mega fights for me to have out there that really it's just up to me to go out there and get these fights made. Who knows? Maybe they're going to put a middleweight version of this tournament on next year, which I would say that I would try and do. You know, I can make middleweight, so that's another option as well in the future. But for right now, obviously, the focus is February 17th.
Are you actually a better middleweight than you are a super middleweight? And if so, does that make this achievement, should you win the super middleweight tournament, even greater?
Well, I'm not a natural super middleweight. You know, I have to forcefully make super middleweight. So I guess technically I'm not a super middleweight. But I'm not going to say that I'm a better fighter at middleweight than I am at super middleweight because I'm campaigning at super middleweight. It really doesn't matter. You know, anybody in the super middleweight or the middleweight division with a belt, I'm coming for.
Just before we round off, I know you're eager to start training. Give us a final message for your opponent, George Groves.
Be ready, man. You know, let's give the fans what they've been dreaming about for the last 2-3 years. He says his training camp's gone great. He says he's in great shape. He says he's ready. He says he can knock me out early. You know, I hope that these are all statements that he really truly believes, because if so, it's going to make for a hell of a fight.